Welcome to another edition of Cooking with Geek. Since this pandemic started, I haven't gone out to eat, which means I'm cooking all of my own food, which means my family keeps giving me more and more food, including this giant squash, which I don't know how to cook, so tonight we're going to try to make squash soup. Let's go! Ingredients include big screens and a cabbage for my partner, a giant squash and a pepper for my father, broccoli, cauliflower, red onion, pickled red onion, and tomato for my mother, which means the only ingredients I'm actually providing for myself are red pepper, sweet onion, garlic, carrot, and tomato. While I'm unsure what to do with the squash, I'm pretty sure the first step with all vegetables is to cube it. All of the guts can be composted. Instead, we're going to take some of the seeds out to germinate them so we can grow our own squash. I don't know the specifics of squash germination. My two go-tos are putting inside of a moist paper towel and covering for a couple of days, or putting into egg cartons full of dirt. Before pureeing the squash meat, you can either bake or boil it to make sure that it's tender. I'm going to bake mine for 30 minutes at 420. While my squash cooks, I'm just going to throw the broccoli and cauliflower in there too. Because I don't really know the difference between the two, I'm just going to cook the cauliflower as I would the broccoli. After my safety goggles failed to prevent me from crying last time I tried to cut onions, a friend of the show bought me goggles that they used to face down police tear gas. I have not cried since. Better. And with that, the squash should be ready to go. I don't know what a good or a bad squash looks like. This one is very hot and bubbling. It's gonna be great. Broccoli is maybe a little bit burnt. While the broccoli and the squash cools, we can start sauteing the broccoli, red pepper, green onion, and carrot. In terms of spices, I always use all the classics. Salt, pepper, red pepper flakes, garlic, onion powder, chili powder, and I have grilled vegetable spice, which I just throw on too. While it may seem silly to add onion powder to a dish that's primarily onions, I don't really think there's a flavor that's better than onion. The baked cauliflower is delicious. In terms of cubing the squash, all I know is I want the skin off and I want as much meat out as possible. I'm just going to flip that and then start with a few incisions down the middle. So after taking it out of the oven and letting it cool, it looks like this just comes straight off the skin. So just with the fork, I'm going to pull as much of the skin off as I can, and I'll throw that in the blender momentarily. My veggies have cooked down pretty significantly, so we're going to turn the heat off on those and just let them cool before blending. Meanwhile, that squash is looking pretty empty. I'm going to get the remaining squash out and then throw it in my blender. I am beginning to feel that my squash and vegetable ratio is off. Roasted broccoli is the most delicious thing I've ever eaten. In terms of blenders, I don't have anything huge. I really should have an immersion blender. Instead, I have the 600 milliliter oyster. It's possible there should be some sort of liquid base. Right now, that's just squash, but let's give it a whirl. I've looked up exactly 0 squash soup recipes. This does look like a similar consistency to what I want. It kind of reminds me of like a peach smoothie. It's gonna be great. Blending sauteed vegetables seems wrong, but I threw some in with the squash, so we'll give it a whirl. And cup number 2. A little bit of a different color, but it had some sauteed veggies in it, so it makes sense. Still coming out pretty fluid. I'll take this as a win. As I loaded the third batch, I realized I forgot the tomatoes. As I continue to pour, the soup continues to get stratigraphic layers, as every layer is a different color than the one prior. I've been folding through the layers to try to get the squash on the bottom to be mixed in with the veggies on top, and I think we now have a pretty even consistency, along with just having a ton of soup. Which that's bad.